Hello, my name is Gulnar, and I'm a PhD student in Human-Computer Interaction Lab at UC Merced. I'm going to present the work called Senorita, a chorded keyboard for sighted, low vision, and blind mobile users. Qwerty, augmented with linguistic and behavioral models, has become the dominant input method for mobile devices. However, using Qwerty is difficult in some scenarios, as it takes up more than half of the screen real estate, especially when using a smartphone in landscape position. The keys are too small for precise target selection, causing frequent typing errors due to the fat finger problem. Lastly, the thumbs do not always reach the keys in the middle of the keyboard on larger devices, such as tablets. Many alternatives have been proposed, yet Qwerty continues to dominate mobile text entry, presumably because most solutions have steep learning curves, thus require a substantial amount of time and effort in learning. Also, users tend to reject a solution if they cannot learn by doing or do not see an immediate benefit. Just like a musical chord consists of multiple notes, with chorded keyboard, users hit multiple keys at once instead of one at a time to enter one letter, like playing piano. Twiddler is a known example of chorded methods. It's a 12-key keypad with which users press multiple keys simultaneously to enter one letter. Studies showed that experienced Twiddler users can type at an average rate of 60 words per minute. This is Senorita, a novel two-thumb chorded keyboard with 8 keys laid out in a single row. The left 4 keys are tapped with the left thumb and right 4 keys are tapped with the right thumb. Each key has an upper letter and bottom letter sequence. The upper letters are the most frequent 8 letters in the English language: E, A, I, S, R, N, O, and T. The name Senorita is an anagram of these letters. These letters are entered with a single tap on the respective keys. To enter a letter from the bottom sequence, users perform chords. Each chord is composed of 2 keys from the opposite sides of the keyboard. For example, to enter the letter H, users hold the 2 keys that contain the letters simultaneously. Novices can also tap on these keys in an order-agnostic sequence. To design Senorita, we first placed the most frequent letters closer to the 2 sides of the phone to make them easier for the thumbs to reach, and the infrequent letters further away to reduce thumb movements. The chords are composed of keys from the opposite sides to make them easier to enter with thumbs. We only consider the horizontal reach of the thumbs to leave the upper area of the screen free, and for the users to use the bottom edge as a physical reference to facilitate eyes-free text entry. We will discuss it in the next slide. It also provides visual feedback. We will discuss it in the next slide. Chording keyboards are smaller and have fewer keys, which minimizes finger travel. Once learned, performing chords is much faster than tap sequence. For example, with stenotype, experts can reach 300 words per minute. The main challenge of existing chorded methods is that they require substantial time and effort to master. As a result, most existing chorded keyboards lack in immediate usability and require users to learn the chords before typing. Senorita provides visual feedback to facilitate learning. The 2 sides are distinguished using 2 different shades of gray. The top and the bottom labels in each key represents tap and chord-based keys respectively. Senorita lets users perform the chording actions in sequence. For novices, you can see it from the video at the top. Chording can be initiated from either side to enter the chorded letters. or simultaneously for experts, shown in video at the bottom. It enables users to start typing immediately and learn the chords along the way. We conducted multiple studies. So, the first study, 10 sighted volunteers aged from 20 to 31 years participated in the study. On the first day, session 1, we explained the research to all participants. Then, we demonstrated Senorita and enabled all participants to practice with it. The Senorita condition started after that, where participants transcribed 15 phrases using the new keyboard for 10 sessions on different days. Senorita yielded a competitive entry speed of 14 words per minute with a 0.9% error rate, and with an average chording rate of 9.7%. The average entry speed over session correlated well with the power law of practice, and ANOVA identified a significant effect of session on entry speed. We observed that learning occurred even in the last session, which indicates that Senorita did not reach its highest possible speed in the study. Data revealed that learning of chords occurred at a slower rate. This is likely because participants could perform the chording actions in sequence instead of simultaneously. We made some minor design adjustments to appropriate Senorita for tablets. We split the two sides of the keyboard based on the average thumb length to assure that the thumbs can comfortably reach all keys, and most of the touchscreen is available for the users to engage in other activities, such as commenting while watching the video. We conducted a second study to evaluate Senorita on a tablet. 10 new sighted participants aged from 24 to 30 years took part in the study. It used the same procedure as the first study, but participants transcribed 50 random phrases in 5 blocks on the same day. So, 10 phrases per block using Senorita. Here, participants reached a 9.3 words per minute entry speed and a 2.2% error rate. It's exciting that learning occurred even in this short-term study. Compared to the first block, entry speed increased by 23% in the last block. And ANOVA identified a significant effect of block on entry speed, and the average entry speed over block correlated well with the power law of practice. Like the first study, learning occurred in the last block, suggesting that entry speed with Senorita is likely to increase with practice. Visually impaired people usually use smartphone with a screen reader, which simply reads the items displayed on the screen. To enter text with Qwerty, visually impaired users slide their fingers through the keyboard until they hear the character they wish to enter. Once they find it, they double tap on the key. This process is time-consuming and requires many actions to enter one letter. Most text entry solutions for visually impaired people rely on the knowledge of Braille, but Braille literacy in this population is only 10%. Speech input is becoming popular, but not reliable in noisy places, and compromises users' privacy and security. Also, we found out that many visually impaired people don't want to use speech input because they don't want to disturb other people. We used an iterative design process to fine-tune Senorita for visually impaired people. First, we customized the design based on the existing literature and design guidelines. We then evaluated it in pilot studies involving blindfolded sighted participants. We refined the design based on the findings. This process was repeated until the design reached a satisfactory level. We then tested Senorita with 5 visually impaired people, 2 female and 3 male. They all used Senorita on a smartphone, then took part in a focus group. All participants were supportive of Senorita from the start, but suggested some modifications. They all appreciated that Senorita has only 8 keys, thus does not require scanning their thumbs through an array of keys. They also found it ergonomic, as it does not require stretching their thumbs vertically. They all expressed their frustration with the existing solutions and were willing to invest time and effort in learning new keyboard if it's effective and user-friendly. As you can see in the video, we added a high contrast black and white theme to provide visual aids to low vision users with some light perception. We removed all inactive areas between the keys to enable smooth sliding between the keys without lifting the thumbs. We replaced the space and backspace keys with right and left strokes on the screen, respectively. Finally, we augmented a screen reader to provide auditory feedback on each input and interaction. Please refer to the paper for a detailed discussion about all design considerations. We recruited 11 participants through the Center of Vision Enhancement in Merced, California. 3 blind and 8 low vision people took part in the study. They all used assistive technologies to use mobile devices. Their age ranged from 27 to 62 years. 8 of them were female and 3 were male. We shared the informed consent form with all potential volunteers ahead of time for them to learn about the study. Upon arrival, we explained the procedure again, responded to any questions they had, then asked them to verbally consent to participate in the study in the presence of a witness. The first condition started after that, where participants picked a virtual keyboard of their choice to transcribe 15 random phrases. Interestingly, they all chose Qwerty with a screen reader. Then, we demonstrated Senorita and enabled them to practice with it. Practice phrases were not repeated in the study. The Senorita condition started after that, where participants transcribed as many phrases as possible in 20 minutes. Average enter speed with Senorita was 5.5 words per minute, with 5.5% error rate, and average chording rate for low vision and blind participants were about 24% and 44% respectively. This slide shows chording rates in all 3 studies. There was a significant effect of session on chording rate. Interestingly, we did not observe such effect in prior studies. As you can see, chording rate from first and second studies were lower compared to the last one. This partially validates that sighted participants learned to chord at a slower rate because they had a known alternative available. They could perform the chording actions in sequence instead of simultaneously, relying on visual feedback. Visually impaired participants did not have that luxury, thus had no option but to learn the chords faster, for faster text entry, resulting in a 62% higher chording rate than the previous studies. Relevantly, there was also a significant effect of the level of sight. Blind participants performed 45% more chords than low vision participants. Senorita is motivated by the design for all philosophy to support the maximum possible group of users, including sighted and visually impaired users. It does not rely on the knowledge of Braille, thus accessible to a larger audience. In the final study, blind users surpassed their Qwerty performance with Senorita 32% faster, while low vision participants yielded a competitive 5.8 words per minute. Besides, users found it effective, playful, and wanted to keep using it on their mobile devices. Thank you for your time. Feel free to ask us any questions about the work via email or on our social media channels.